Who's the person on that invitation list?
Leonardo DiCaprio. Favorite artist?
Can I touch it?
I think that the format of the joke specifically is framing a prolific serial and as like a
kink.
Fiend.
Yeah, they're saying like, oh man, he's a kinky
freaky
guy is the tone of a lot of these jokes, and that's not what happened. He's a victimizer,
and I feel like equating the shit that he's accused of and going to fucking prison maybe for his entire life as being some freaky shit.
It's a red flag.
Maybe knitting. I feel like that could work.
Yeah.
I feel like having something physical where I could, that something where I'm, or whittling or just, I don't know, I don't know how to describe it. Something about public transit commute is just, I feel like I can't get settled enough to actually do something that feels like it actually is engaging my brain. So I just end up, scrolling fucking social media unsatisfied for however long I'm on there.
Yeah.
It's just.
And then if you're knitting, you already got weapons on you in case something pops the fuck off. Like it's kind of like a dual purpose kind of situation.
Great point.
Stay strapped, make straps. You know what I'm saying?
Indeed.
That's what
100%. And with that being said, welcome to Waving the Red Flag, the number one public transit self-defense and literary and cinema critique podcast. In the northern southeastern United States, if nowhere else.
Yes,
we 100% run that sector.
If nowhere else, we got
else.
That on lock.
And the northern part of Atlantis, don't forget that.
Yeah, the above water section of Atlantis would definitely the airspace of Atlantis. We got it on lock.
100%. Neymar is not fucking with us. Today we got myself.
Neymar?
Let's just move on. We got a podcast to do. You're asking questions,
fucking up the flow.
To introduce us. Goddamn, man! Every time, shit.
I apologize.
So with that being said, we got Eddie, we got Josh, we got myself. Let's get into it.
Everybody seems to be very. I don't know who's on the other side of this argument, but everybody seems to be very proud of Cardi for fucking on a nigga while pregnant. You know what I'm saying? That seems to be the consensus.
Oh yeah. Okay. I'm not given the situation, given the circumstances.
Okay.
And it's like
in context,
very much so. I'm not mad at her because like Offset and did her dirty so many goddamn times. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Cheated on her like time and time again while she was pregnant, after she was pregnant, like before she, like, you know what I'm saying? So, and then fucking with her ops, with Cardi B's ops while she was pregnant.
Wait, he fucked her enemies?
Yeah, like women that Cardi don't like. Yeah, some girl named Jade or some shit like that. I don't know, it was something like that. But I try.
That's dirty.
Exactly. So,
yeah,
it's like,
that's now it's off. Now it's gloves off. Because what I was gonna say is, I feel like if you're gonna cheat back, one, ask yourself what the goal is here. Is the goal to, inflict pain on a person that you intend on maintaining a relationship with, or is it to fuck somebody over who you intend on leaving? If it's the first one, you got to be careful about how you cheat back. Because if they cheated with, a random off of Tinder and then you fuck their brother, that's crazy. You've imploded the fucking relationship for no goddamn reason, made everything terrible. But if he fucked your enemies, that's kind of some of the most heinous cheating that you can do. Like, if he's fucking groupies or whatever, it's like, cool, you fuck somebody, cool, y'all are even. He needs to shut the fuck up. But he fucked your enemies.
That's interesting. Like, that's the thing that's making you be like, oh nope, all the gloves are off, Cardi B. We ride it down with you. But
because at first I was like, okay, he cheated a bunch. Yeah. Cool, you cheated less than that while pregnant. I'm kind of like, cool, you're in the right. But then somebody was like, she fucked, or implied that she fucked fucking
Takeoff, which is
Takeoff.
Fucking insane.
And then I was like, no, that's dirty. But then if he's fucking your enemies, I'm like, it's kind of par for the course at that point. I'm sorry. That's close enough to where I'm no longer mad at Cardi for for fucking the family, you know.
And also it doesn't make sense. So per his call out of her, and per what she has admitted to doing herself, the timeline doesn't make sense for her to have fucked Takeoff.
So you're saying she didn't?
How would she have? So like again, per both of their agreed timeline, she was fucking while she was pregnant with this baby. When would she have fucked Takeoff?
No.
Oh, so, any other time?
Yeah, right. There's other context because, mind you, Offset been cheating on her for like, you know,
Cardi. So Cardi went on live. Cardi went on live. She said Offset cheated on me 7 times with multiple people. She said I cheated on him once. Offset said she cheated on me once while she was pregnant with my baby. They both agreed that she cheated one time. There are no
other instances.
When neither of them in a discussion where they both agreed that she cheated, and when she cheated have talked about anything else. So anything else seems like some internet gossip. So I don't know how much.
So what's your no because she's the one who brought up Takeoff.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a thing of I'm doing this on purpose to further hurt you. Like it might not be true. They work.
It might not be true.
Yeah, like Jesus Christ. Because I mean, it ain't even just about Cardi.
But we're not making it up. She said it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But she did not say she fucked him. She just said she misses him and like missed those nights, implying that they fucked. But it could have just been like they was having conversation. Like he was like the realest nigga, like in Migos. Like
it could have been.
You know, so
could be emotional cheating.
Maybe.
Which niggas don't give a fuck about, but you know.
Yeah, that's maybe.
Yeah, it could be that.
That's the one thing I was like, man, I hope not. Cause I kind of got it like, damn, Takeoff.
That's a bad look for him.
You smashed your brother. They not.
Yeah, that's dirty. That's dirty too.
Yeah,
they're not actually
cousins,
related.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they're not actually
cousins. Oh, they're not actually related at all. Oh, okay.
No. Takeoff and
Offset is not actually. Yeah, but Quavo and Takeoff are related by blood.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Unc and Few.
Well, yeah, I mean, still, that's that's brothers in terms of. May as fucking well be.
They're brothers in arms.
So I feel
like,
they're cousins in the
same struggle. That's dirty as hell.
In the deepest way that black people mean it when they say it.
Exactly. You don't, and that is quite dirty. You don't fucking do that. So, but Offset did it first. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know.
Yeah. That's
it is.
Yeah, that's why I'm like not necessarily. It's like for one. Also, another thing is like. Why are we hearing about this? Like, this is y'all putting like y'all shit on the internet for everybody to see.
Like, well, he embarrassed her publicly, so I guess it comes,
It's divorce proceedings.
The what?
It's divorce proceedings.
You
trial them in the court of public opinion. Yeah, you trial them in the court of public opinion first. To kind of
see what holds up.
This looks like whatever it is. Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's interesting. That's because we got to get a PR agent on the podcast at some point, because sometimes I'm always interested, like what actually goes into crisis management and shit, like, because that as a technique is very interesting. Like, cool, we're gonna test how people react to this narrative in a small little pocket. Get on live and say, boom, this, you know what I mean? And then can we sell this in the court, or can we sell this to the tabloids? That's interesting and a little bit scary, especially if it's that planned. But it would not surprise me at all.
Yeah. I got a question though. When the whole like, I slept with somebody else while I was pregnant. Of course, the niggas, they was like, oh hell no, man, bitch, you don't do it like that. You don't do a nigga like that.
Really?
Hell yeah. Absolutely.
I had seen a little bit, but I'm like, who
are these niggas? Yeah, but not like this.
Yeah, who's
we come on now.
Yeah. I know.
Niggas could be your neighbor.
I know. Yeah. Niggas abound.
Be your coworker. But nah, like, so my thing is it unethical to have sex with a single? Is it unethical to have sex with a pregnant woman if you're not the father of the baby that's in that belly?
And to whom? Like, who would be the hurt party?
I guess the baby.
Oh, shit. I wasn't ready to contend with that.
I wasn't thinking about that. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, but is it unethical? Like, is that like morally, like, is that kind of weird because of just in terms of like the backlash, and well, at least like from what like these dudes are saying. It's like, oh no, that's so terrible. Like that's a sin. Like that's a big foul right there. You don't cross that line no matter how bad you get done dirty by a nigga. Like you fucking another nigga while you pregnant with his child. How you gonna do that?
Well, I think it's okay. Okay, the reason that I asked you that question is because that's core to even addressing the ethical, like to talk about the ethicality of the ethics of something. You have to go.
So like,
you have to go. Well, who's getting hurt? And if it's the guy, I would say kind of maybe. If it's the baby, I'd be like, I guess it depends on how many like trimesters is. I guess, but probably not.
I don't think it matters for the baby, and I don't think it. The only time I think it matters with the guy is if it's so I think people are focusing too much on the fact that she's pregnant and not whether or not it's cheating in general, because what people have done is taken this conversation to have a larger conversation about like pregnant women having sex with somebody other than the baby's father. If it's a cheating scenario, then I think the ethics of it is fairly clear. And for me, if it's there's a baby involved, they're not together, she's fucking somebody else, I kind of don't give a shit. Like I don't care. Like that's her doing her and living her life. Like I don't think that hurts the baby, and I don't think it disrespects him because he's no longer in the picture in terms of her sexual life. Like they're still bound as co-parenting the child in an ideal sense, but he no longer has any way to cross the bounds into her sexual activity to do that. So I kind of don't give a shit. But
if
I understand based on the internet
if they are sort of together, then I feel like it's like that is to your point about being bonded as co-parents. If you still go together, I do think that is particularly heinous.
I think if y'all still go together, then the issue is that she's cheating. What I'm saying is I agree with that, but what I'm saying is that it's especially heinous if y'all go together. Not just that you're cheating, but that you're cheating while pregnant, in the same way that if you cheat on your girl while she's pregnant with your baby, that's worse than regular cheating. That's a different because if you're fucking a missionary, it's like, yo, I can see this. Like if I'm looking at the man fucking me, I can see the baby that I have with another man while I'm doing it, and I'm still going through with it. That's crazy. If y'all not together, it's irrelevant. But if you go with a guy and you fuck with his baby inside of you, that's madness. Unless, of course, he's cheated on you 7 times. In which case,
again, context of why I'm not.
Context is
Cardi in this particular.
But that's crazy as fuck. If
I don't think
1.25 speed cheating.
Yeah, and I don't think anything that you're saying is controversial. It's also not why people are having this conversation. Like, I think what you're saying is
not at all.
I think what you're saying is
larger conversation.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is very obvious, and I think we all agree with it. I think it's very clear that they're done. At least now that they're done. So people are still having this conversation about like, why are you fucking with another man's baby inside of you? And I'm saying that I think that as the conversation that is dominating the zeitgeist is done.
So is based on the timeline. She didn't even cheat. We're saying like they weren't even together during this situation.
No, she cheated. She said she cheated. No, she said she cheated.
Okay.
She said she cheated. She said she cheated on IG Live.
Yeah, that was my understanding. So yeah. All right. You want to talk about some other shit? Unless we got more on this thing that we all just angrily are agreeing with one another on.
Would you smash a pregnant woman? Nah, I'm just joking. Diddy in prison. How about that one?
Well, I guess it depends who is it? My baby.
Oh, I mean, like that's a given. I mean, if it's your baby, matters. I mean, I would hope so. You still you and your child are still getting it in. But I mean, like just a pregnant woman.
I don't want to disrupt the you know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to cause any commotion if it's my baby, you know.
So you wouldn't have sex with your partner if she's pregnant?
I'm not saying I wouldn't, but I'm saying I might. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to scramble the dude's brains up. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know what happens in that situation.
This nigga needs a health education class bad if you think that you're gonna be scrambling the fucking baby's brain.
I might be. You need an education in Eddie because I might be. That's
Fair enough. Point taken.
Pregnant women are beautiful.
I gotta protect mine. You know what I'm saying? I gotta protect mine.
Indeed.
For young, impressionable, non-Eddie viewers / listeners, you can safely have sex with your partner while they're pregnant.
Yeah,
unless you're Eddie.
it's higher up there. Unless you're Eddie.
Unless you're Eddie.
Yeah,
there's something
Yeah,
else.
because
the
baby is up in the uterus. There's plenty of space in the vagina before you even get to that to the cul-de-sac. You know what I'm saying? You're in the driveway. Don't worry.
This really is elevated barbershop talk. We really just gave a whole health education class right there.
Right there.
Got to. We really got to get Josh that whiteboard so he can draw
100%. If Josh had a whiteboard right now, like goddamn.
Full circle.
It's got to be convenient. I just got to be able to pull it because I have a whiteboard, but it's not like on a pulley system type situation.
We got it. Look up how much that costs. Well, I'll buy it.
Can you just run to a board in the middle of broadcast like fucking Kenny on inside the NBA? Just run and just be like, okay, so I'm gonna put y'all niggas on game real quick. Do that kind of shit.
No, that would be great.
Start drawing a bunch of circles and tic-tac-toes with arrows and shit.
Yeah, I gotta clean up my bedroom before I do that. But yeah, future episodes, beware. I'm gonna do that.
Or pull down from the top. Is that a thing where you can do this with a whiteboard?
This is not Looney Tunes. I do not have cartoons.
This is not Looney Tunes.
What the fuck? I'm gonna get a whiteboard pictures off. I can't do this. I damn sure can't do this.
This nigga, do you have a stick of dynamite that you can just? Do you have an exploding cigar that you can smoke it and it just oops,
could you just run off a cliff and stay there for 3 to 5 seconds before falling? Oh fuck! You have a stick of dynamite is crazy.
No, bro. This nigga Josh
buy it. Obviously,
this nigga Josh cool as a cucumber said he ain't no fucking Looney Tunes.
Why would you? That's not. I was just saying we could buy the equipment for the podcast. You install it in. I don't know. I'm imaginative. I'm a maverick. Y'all don't get it. Let's talk about Diddy or Issa Rae or something.
But yeah, Diddy in prison. Love to see it. Because even if so some stuff might be speculation, hearsay, he's been telling us all along. But when you see shit the video with Cassie, how he's behaved in other instances with other celebrities, such as Justin Bieber, so many different little things. It's my nigga, you deserve jail time. You deserve to go the fuck away. And one thing I realized is that domestic abuse, unfortunately, is not that serious of a crime. Apparently.
You
gotta
charged.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, you gotta.
We know what everybody. Hey, look, we're not gonna do this to Josh. We're not gonna do that to Josh.
I'm doing it for Josh. I'm asking Josh to do this for Josh.
Oh no, okay, I appreciate that.
Okay,
thank you for catching that because y'all know my y'all nigga, we condone beef.
The number one domestic violence podcast in Southwest America.
Yeah, but no,
somebody fucking stitch that shit on TikTok. I'm just saying.
Oh no, right? Oh, man. I got one. I got another one that's way worse than that one when you weren't here, buddy. I don't know if you ever saw that episode, but yeah, no. Unfortunately, the charges for domestic abuse are not that serious. Women who are in legit danger. This nigga go to jail. He'd be out the same damn night, or he might go away for a year or two, if that. Get off on good behavior. You still right back in the same situation. And it's we can't do shit because he technically didn't commit the crime. Yeah, well, he did it in the past, but he didn't do it again. So we can't protect you. So it's fucked up. So for that alone, for that domestic abuse shit, I'm glad his ass in prison. Just for that alone, seeing that shit, for sure. But the jokes.
Yeah, and what all else is on? What did you say?
Nah, my fault. Go ahead, G. I was talking for a long time.
No. I'm saying you said a thing. I'm wondering.
Oh yeah, I was just about to say the jokes, they starting to get kind of tiring, because some of them just not even funny anymore. It don't make sense. And that's it. And I think it's a thing that. And I feel just because I imagine sometimes I find myself doom scrolling on TikTok, and Diddy video. It's I'm in a sense I feel I'm kind of becoming desensitized to it. It's okay, goddamn, I'm tired of hearing about this shit. I get it's too much. And then
I think no, go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I was just about to say on the last thing is like the jokes. Trust me, I actually got two Diddy joke videos I thought was funny as fuck. But even still, like some of them just like he was trying to tell us all along. It was just some dumb shit. It's like, fuck. Okay, so
Let me see the ones that you, because I'd love to have a conversation about comedy and that. You should pull those up after Alvin says his piece.
Yeah, I think there's a way to make jokes about anything, right? Like, I mean, Pete Davidson has some really, really hilarious 9/11 like one-liners, which I also think works in his context because he was directly impacted by that. So it's about, you know, like
I think
talking
that's
about
another big reason.
I think
leeway,
yeah. So it's like you're talking about yourself, which you know, as we've talked about, at least in sidebar conversations, I think punching down versus and talking about yourself is peak comedy in most cases. Or like Josh Johnson has a whole set of Diddy jokes that were funny, and I don't think crossed the line of belittling the impact to people that were victimized by Diddy. So I think you can do it. I just think that the internet took the lowest common denominator of Diddy jokes and just like ran that into the ground.
that's
like,
what I'm saying.
Like people were making, you know, videos of them slathered in baby oil and just being like, oh yeah, I'm ready for a freak off. And I'm like, it's not only is it in poor taste, it's not funny. And you can do that in a way that's funny and in decent taste so that it's not disrespectful to victims. And I think that you have some pretty good examples of that in this case and in other cases where you were dealing with similarly touchy subjects.
I'm curious what those are, because like I'm less concerned with the funny or driving a joke into the ground. Like I'm kind of like, that's fine. Like let people make their jokes. As I've said, I'm the in defense of comedy person on this podcast. I think the part of what you said that I'm most aligned with is I think that the format of the joke specifically is framing a prolific serial rapist and sex trafficker as like a
kink.
fiend.
Yeah, they're saying like, oh man, he's a kinky
freaky
guy is the tone of a lot of these jokes, right. And that's like, not what happened.
Or
he's,
like
he's a
veiled
victimizer.
homophobia, where it's like, oh,
yeah,
it's a lot of like AO type jokes where it's like, oh, he's a freaky boy, he's a little bit gay, he's a little bit queer, he's doing all this weird, the kinds of things that we would make jokes about on the podcast, where we go like, oh, watching porn on the TV is crazy. It's a joke about just being freaky, and I feel like equating the shit that he's accused of and going to fucking prison maybe for his entire life as being some freaky shit, that is a problem that I think makes it harder for victims of people who victims of him and victims of people who did shit like him to get justice, because it's like, oh, that was just some freaky shit. You went to a freak off with Diddy. It's like, bro, this was a fucking like a rape, like attack is what y'all are describing as like a party. And that's where I don't really give a fuck about is it funny or is it not? Is it driven into the ground? Make jokes. But when your joke's point is, hey, isn't it funny this fucking like gang rape? No. Like, so that's where I fall with these. Yeah. Especially the man rape. Not especially, but including the man rape shit. Like nobody, as Chappelle has said, nobody gives a fuck about man rape. So all of this shit where it's like Diddy was victimizing all of these men gets turned into jokes about Bieber and Meek Mill and baby oil and shit like that.
Jokes about him being bisexual, which again, if anybody hasn't heard it, again, Josh Johnson addresses toward the tail end of his stuff. Also like things about like believe male victims, because it's horrible for everybody in those situations. But when a male victim comes forward, you get the usual bullshit that female victims have to deal with about like, oh, why now? Plus. Oh, why do they do this? Oh, they just want to do it. And then with male victims, it becomes belittling and jokes about the victimizer being gay, being bisexual. It just becomes homophobic like talking points, which is just horrible. Which again, I think Johnson talked about really well in his set about it. So you can discuss these things, but I don't think that's what's being done by these niggas on various social media platforms.
I think Josh got something in the cannon for us, though.
I don't even know if I want to play the goddamn
Josh,
video no more.
yeah, because the way Josh looked at, he was like, he said, I can see the camera zooming in where he was like, is he in the room?
Dogpiling season.
I don't know.
But
just play the videos because I want to be able to assess them, and we'll just cut it if it feels like these are egregious or whatever. But I kind of want to at least talk about it because I'm very curious always about the philosophy of comedy and like what if because I agree with Alvin that you can joke about anything, but I think I probably disagree on what that looks like.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm about to play it now.
And I'm a Scorpio.
Your white party is up there with the top 3 that you've ever thrown for people.
And this year at Burning Man at an undisclosed location.
Who's the person on that?
That's crazy.
List?
Leonardo DiCaprio. Favorite artist.
Can I touch it?
Yes.
Actually hope to work.
Denzel Washington.
Why?
You will not see a president love in 2020, but you will see some change. It's going to help you get some change. We're going to just spread this world with love. Don't want to be the president, though. I want to have too much fun. Do you know?
Mm-hmm. And true or false, did you have the most memorable time with me on this interview?
Damn, that's true.
Yeah, some of those, well, several of those obviously were funny and made me laugh because because the bell just makes everything sound crazy. Yeah. Leonardo DiCaprio. Dun, dun. Okay, fuck. Yeah. Play the other one. And we can discuss.
But yeah, I mean,
I don't know, like, because
I was just gonna say, like, I mean, like, just like stuff like one of those. It's like, okay, that was funny. That was pretty fucking good. Like all 3 of those was actually pretty funny to me. And I can't believe I got to be careful about talking about Diddy jokes. I did not have this on my bingo card for the night, so I'm happy for you. Thank you for bringing this element to the conversation. But yeah, like ultimately, like Alvin was saying, like what I was trying to say, like, it's like the lowest common denominator, and then like just lazy jokes. But then it's also at the same time just being inundated with this one thing so fucking much, and it's like,
like
brain rot in a sense, almost. Not to say like you don't care about the victim, but it's just like every other thing, you know.
I think it does decent because something that came to mind just as we were watching those is because I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch something that I've just basically said is bad. But then I laugh like twice, legitimately. So I'm kind of like, sometimes some shit can be funny and bad, you know, and like not good to have in the culture. You know what I mean? Or at least that's just something that's kind of coming to my mind. Because I think sometimes if you laugh, because comedy is a weird thing. It's like if you laugh at something that you agree with it, or if you laugh at something, you're almost in a way supporting it. But yeah, I don't know how to reconcile that exactly because I'm like, I don't think that, like, even if some of those jokes in there made me laugh, I do think that, again, making a violent, repeat, prolific rapist and sex trafficker allegedly into a like Larry David sitcom character when he's like, because this is not Diddy playing Diddy in an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm or fucking Arrested Development, in which case, okay, maybe it would be more funny. It's like, this motherfucker's actually going to prison. Making that into a joke, I think, makes it a lot harder to, like, arguably part of why it took this goddamn long, you know?
That's a great way to intellectualize it and like really study the thing.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, like even like the laziest jokes are not directly at least the ones I have seen many, but like most of them I haven't like clocked that they have just, except for the Meek Mill shit. Goddamn, all right, I gotta pick my words better. But most of them, other than like the outright homophobic jokes about Diddy, have not been made to slander or like degrade the victims of these, things.
Yeah.
So, and it's like
I've seen a few that were outright, but I do agree with you to a pretty decent extent.
And this is part of like his humiliation ritual in a sense. Like this is literally like part of the punishment. Imagine Like you goddamn, you can't go nowhere. Everybody on your ass. And you know how social media is like, we can't take shit serious. Like, not saying it's right, but this is not like some sort of like grand thing for Diddy either. Like, I think this is also part of his up and comings. And I think his victims might actually be happy to see that he getting what's coming to him, or he's finally, you know, in this sort of light.
I'm curious about that because that is interesting. Like the internet doesn't take things seriously, and I think that it's fine to when it comes to making dark humor about some fucked up shit that kind of makes light of the fucked up shit. I think it's less of an issue if everybody's on the same page about it being some fucked up shit. So, like, if you make a joke about a serial killer who's going to prison, there's not a risk of people not taking serial killing seriously. There's plenty of caveats that I won't get into, but generally speaking, that's the case. So, but in a situation like this, there is such a large percentage of people in the past up to now who don't even view a lot of the shit that Diddy is being accused of as actually being criminal, and are largely more focused on him being queer or gay or bisexual as opposed to him having raped men, and who are like trying to reframe his rape and sex trafficking of women against their will, again, allegedly, as, oh, he just liked to party. And I feel like it's not necessarily that the jokes are slandering the victims, but I think when it's similar to the shit with Trump, which is where like people are like, it kind of like people will say shit like, I know Trump's bad or whatever, but like this motherfucker is funny. And that's not untrue. Like he is funny and a lot of people find him very funny, but I think that we would have to admit that the fact that Trump is funny is dangerous to the extent that it minimizes how much of a danger he is. Like that's a thing in the culture.
Yeah, I think Trump is more complicated than that, because I think that without getting too much into it, I think everybody knows that Trump is a buffoon. I think that you have a lot of establishment Republicans that thought they could control him, so they let that ride. And I think you have a bunch of white right-leaning electorate members that didn't give a shit who it was, right? Like I don't think him. I don't like again. You know, I always talk about how Barack Obama was losing to generic white male Republican in 2012, and he wasn't losing to any of the candidates that were actually running for it, right? Like I think they just wanted somebody who was not a Democrat and who was not somebody that they could be perceived as left leaning to do that. And I think it had very little to do with it being funny. I think any white man that ran could have did anything that Trump did, and it didn't have to do shit with all that. But all that being said, I do agree with your larger point. I just think that example is bad. I think that the jokes that I've seen in this realm and in other stuff are kind of along the lines of that are actually funny, and I don't think disrespect victims, are things to the extent of like, similar to the video that Josh shown, is like, why didn't we know? It's kind of crazy in a supervillain-esque kind of way that like we didn't see this kind of stuff coming, or like it's hit exactly how bad he was is kind of just like the tip of the iceberg. And I know, like, and again, like I've been talking a lot about Judge Johnson because it's just the best example I got. He talked a lot about the stuff like kind of surrounding the periphery of the situation. Like there were like a 50 Cent really hates him like segment of it that was like 20 minutes of his set. Like there are jokes that can be made about it that I don't think belittle people, that I think people can laugh at without targeting the victims, without belittling the victim struggle and all that kind of stuff. And I know we're all kind of talking around each other at this point, but I'm gonna just, continue to close the loop on the circle. I think it's a big difference between jokes about the situation that do and don't belittle the victims. And as long as they don't belittle the victims, I think most people are fine with you making jokes about something that's bad. And there's countless examples of that throughout the history of comedy.
Yeah, no, I just so that we don't go down a rabbit hole of things that we're not talking about. I think we're all on the same page that the question.
Yeah, I think we're all saying the same thing. Yeah.
And I would say in this situation, and so just talking about what we are talking about and not what we're not talking about, I think it's a matter of tone and the tone that we apply to, because I can't imagine these same jokes being made about a Weinstein. Maybe they would be, but I struggle to think that a, you know, double tap AO Law and Order gag to collect up all the fucked up things that Diddy has said that imply his behind the scenes darker side fucked up shit would be done in that tone for comedy. And that's the thing that I think. Now we can talk about whether or not the impact of that is viewed badly, whether or not it actually has a bad impact, because maybe I'm mistaken there. But for us to act like it's not a different tone that doesn't imply a different thing doesn't make sense.
I think so. I don't disagree with you that I don't think you would have saw that joke. I don't think necessarily, again, that it's completely off limits to make a joke that doesn't belittle victims in the context of Weinstein either. I think you can make jokes about Weinstein. I think you can. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying I have the range, because I don't think I do. Yeah.
But just
I'm not saying.
I'm not saying what it is that I am saying. Real quick. I just to focus just in on that. I'm not saying what, like, can we not? The reason that I asked the Weinstein question is because of what I'm kind of trying to imply, maybe indirectly, is that the reason that we don't is because it is subtextually belittling. That's the argument that I'm making. So just
which I got from the jump, and I'm saying what I'm saying, and again we're all talking in circles, and I'm just going to continue to close the loop. I'm saying that I don't think that that's belittling to victims, because I think you can make jokes in the context of anybody that doesn't do that in any given circumstance. I'm not saying that everybody has the range. I do not. I'm not saying that the video that Josh showed displayed the range. I'm not saying that anybody had the range displayed in regards to Weinstein, because I don't think people did. And I think there are definitely reasons that do that. I think that for Weinstein in particular, and I think you can extrapolate this further, I think there's very much still like power dynamics that were supporting him up until the time where he went to jail. Also, like, I think he was still very much ingrained. Like, it's the same reason why people defend anybody in those situations. I mean, like, Roman Polanski still has like defenders. You know what I'm saying? Like, people ingrained in that kind of old Hollywood kind of power structure are tapped in.
Oh, so you're saying that people weren't joking about Weinstein for Weinstein's benefit?
Yeah, I have a different take. I have a different take. I just don't. Like, niggas don't know Weinstein like they know Diddy. Like, Weinstein ain't in the culture like that. Like, so, and then fact, it don't matter. Like, I've definitely seen people make Weinstein jokes. Many of them. Like, it's not like he didn't catch jokes. Like, oh, this nigga, like the collective subconscious, like, got together and said, nope, he's a white man. He's a powerful, like, we can't joke on him, but we'll kill Diddy. But like, if Weinstein was really deep in the culture like that, and like niggas really knew about Weinstein on some other shit, like we just had a hell of footage of him, trust me, he would have been getting dragged the same. I just don't think
people make Epstein jokes.
Yeah, like
people make Epstein jokes.
Yeah.
When they make Epstein jokes, because I do see a lot of Epstein jokes, but those are largely about.
Exactly right. The periphery, like, it's the same thing that I talked about in terms of like how you can make like
exactly. I didn't say shit yet.
You were gonna say it. You were gonna say you were gonna say that everything that you were gonna say, I can guarantee you, was gonna equate to the fact that it's about the periphery surrounding the situation and not victims, right? So you can make jokes about the periphery surrounding the situation. Again, you can make a joke about 50 Cent really hated this nigga, and like that can be funny. We can laugh about 50 Cent really being like an internet bully a little bit differently. Like, that's something that is adjacent enough so that it doesn't necessarily disrespect victims, or doesn't disrespect victims. And I think you see a lot of those jokes in those situations. Chappelle's 9/11 said, that's very, you know,
I think that's very different. And like, when we might be going in circles, in which case I'm happy to just go on to something else if we don't end up going deeper. But the thing that I'm curious, that I'm trying to figure out in this conversation is, what does make it not belittling to, like, cool, the fact that you can make a joke or that someone could make a joke is not evidence that a given joke isn't belittling to victims. So that's the thing that I'm trying to nail down here. And so if we can't identify that, then we can't.
I feel like I've given like 4 examples of that. I feel like
I'm not seeing
I feel like the reason, like, and this is like just being frank, I feel like the reason that you're not accepting those as examples is because you just disagree with the philosophy, right? But like, again, like if I'm making a joke that's adjacent to it, above board, boom, that's an example. That's how you do it. That's why it's not, because
that's not the jokes that we're talking about here. That's not. Yeah, I'm not. And like, by all means, do reiterate or repeat if you. But none of the examples that I saw addressed why the clip that we just saw with the Law and Order stuff isn't belittling to victims in the way that I articulated. It doesn't seem adjacent. It seems very specific to the crime.
So if we,
it's talking about people who are,
So
I just didn't see those examples. I would love to hear them.
So how I'm approaching this conversation is, you're saying why is one thing not belittling when another thing is. I gave several examples of why you can how you can
I'm
make
asking
that
why
joke.
That's what
I'm clarifying. That's what I'm clarifying.
So I'm clarifying that wasn't my question. And
I'm gonna clarify my clarification because I do want to finish my point. I'm tracking with you. I just think we disagree, because I think that happens a lot on this show, where it's like we talk in circles where you feel like I'm not understanding you, or I feel like you're not understanding me, and we understand each other completely. We just disagree. So I understand what you're saying. I'm saying that I understood. I didn't
actually understand. So I'll admit that.
Yeah, I understand that, but I got you. I'm with you. What I'm saying is that I understood what you were saying to be how can I make this joke in this way to not belittle like victims, or how can this joke be made in such a way that it not be doing it, and why were other jokes? So I thought it was about the jokes, period. If you want to have a conversation specifically about the video, we can do that. I think
that's all.
Even as a person
interested in,
we started having this conversation before we even saw this video. So no, you haven't always been interested solely in that video. So
since that video, obviously, is what I mean by that sentence.
We've had conversations since that video that had absolutely nothing to do with that fucking video. So in regards to that video, if we want,
but go ahead.
Got you. If you want to talk about that video specifically, I think that some of those jokes actually were in poor taste. Like, so there's that. Like, cool.
Okay. Yeah. I would agree, which is where I'm trying to get at. Okay. Then that all of what you said now makes more sense with that in context. If that was never the argument.
Yeah, this is what's the difference between like getting upset about people joking at Diddy because of victims versus like an Andrew Schultz joke, when we were like, oh, it's a joke. Like, still, like, there are people who are hurt on the receiving end of the joke. But well, on one end we'll want to defend that, but on the other end we sound like we trying to say, oh, we shouldn't be making these Diddy jokes, which is a wild take. If you know how I'm hearing it.
I've been thinking about that the whole.
Don't sound too good, because like not who give a fuck, but because like not many people are hearing these jokes and taking these jokes and directly being like, oh yeah, fuck the victims. We're laughing at the victims. We're laughing at him and his freaky ass. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I don't want to act like I don't understand where y'all are coming from, or like, because I do, and I give some leeway, but still, it's like, because it sounded to me like, well, why the fuck is this really the joke thing that we want to defend? Because I don't know if it is.
I mean, I was thinking about that the whole time, where I'm like, and I feel like I've at least me, because obviously I think a thing that happens when it comes to podcasting is that we're all sort of talking, and so our points meld together, where it's like, oh, these 2 points that these 2 different people made are one point that's being addressed against another one, instead of seeing each person as individuals. But I feel like I've been relatively clear on at least my starting stance on where comedy falls. And so I do see a potential like contradiction or blind spot, but my view has always been, I'm kind of in defense of any joke about anything, except to the extent that the underlying thesis of the joke puts something into the culture that's bad for the culture. And I feel like from episode 0 of this podcast, that's always been my comedy philosophy. So I think when it came to without getting too much back into that yet, like that's just been my question of like, oh, is this a joke that's just saying something offensive that maybe makes people laugh, or is it saying something that requires us to believe something about reality that's dangerous for people who are in their lived experience? Does that make sense? I don't know if I've gotten so lofty and specific with my language that it doesn't make sense what I'm talking about, but yeah, I've been thinking about exactly what you said the whole time we've been talking about this.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm for a good joke, but again, like there are some caveats, some nuances, and again, like I said, I got a pretty fucking sick sense of humor. Like me and my homeboy in college, goddamn, he told me about never mind. Never mind. I got to tell y'all, but yeah, like you know what I'm saying. So, you know, just kind of wanted to, verbalize that because I'm like, well, wait a minute.
Well, okay,
yeah,
so
I get what y'all are saying. I just really wanted to verbalize that moment.
I'll make this last bit or question, and then we can move on if there's not anything else interesting, obviously. But I think it's the core thing of what my stance is what belief does it require us to have in order to get the framework of a joke? So even if we're laughing at Diddy, it's like, are we laughing at what are we laughing at about Diddy? And what does that say about how we view the things that we're supposedly admonishing him for? You know what I mean? And I know that we could probably imagine contexts and crimes and certain things where we would be like, we wouldn't laugh at the perpetrator yet. Maybe after time passes, you can kind of joke about any fucking thing. You know what I'm saying? If enough time,
laugh at a
if 100 years
in
pass,
real time.
Okay.
Like I don't understand. I really that part misses me. Like
Okay.
I dead ass. Like especially if it's a fucked up nigga, you getting these jokes. Like, cause I don't, cause like I just kind of feel like that's a little backward. Cause like if we really try to dissect it that hard, to where it's like you a fucked up person, but we can't make jokes because the ultimate like premise of the joke is because you're a fucked up person, because it adjacently might have something to do with the victim, but like no one in real time is thinking about the actual victim of the joke. Like I don't know.
So I think
that's interesting reframing.
Yeah. So one, I think that people not necessarily thinking about the victims, it may be part of the problem in and of itself. That's one. Two.
Yeah.
Again, there are ways to make these jokes, and again, like I think there's this idea that there has to be this all-encompassing framework of what this looks like, and I think that that's completely devoid of the nuance of what comedy does. Right? Again, when a big joke that made the rounds that I think that everybody was like, "Oh, this is funny," is when Diddy was saying he was buying the stuff in bulk from Costco, and Costco came out and made a statement and said that we don't even sell baby oil, and they were like, "Oh, he's lying on Costco." Like, how does that belittle victims? I would struggle to find that. But when you make a joke about, oh, I knew Diddy had a little sugar in his gas tank, then that makes it a homophobia kind of situation, and it does belittle victims because you're being homophobic in a situation. Whereas this is somebody who literally probably had their worldview shaken, or multiple people who had their worldview shaken on this. And I think that it's fairly easy to find that line. Like, unless you're trying not to be frank. I feel like a lot of people get in situations where they have these connections and they want to go through stuff and they're trying not to see those kind of lines that I feel like are pretty distinct for most modern people. So I think that the idea that you need a general framework for comedy is kind of archaic and not worthy of the nuance of what is modern comedy.
Yeah. They're very not like, those are kind of antithetical. I would say the line between what can and can't be, or where it is or is not belittling, isn't clear at all. Otherwise, there'd be kind of no conversation here. It's incredibly unclear where people fall, and I think that's the danger of it, because it is nuanced. But we also have to have guidelines, and those are constantly changing across time. And like the three of us don't agree on that. And so when it comes to the conversation around belittling, and this might be me circling back, but like when it comes to the conversation around belittling, it's like, are we framing someone that we need to take time to look at as a serious problem in the community, as a bit of a funny character? that is a problem. I mean, I'm addressing multiple points there, but yeah, just the line between what that is not clear.
I think it's much clear. I think it's much clearer than people who just being frank. Like if you're like a Joe Rogan podcast like listener, right? I think the line is very clear for people who aren't trying to justify that Joe Rogan is largely harmful. I think if you're not a person that's indoctrinated into that cult because you kind of like,
you're saying he's not.
No, I'm saying that Joe Rogan is, and I'm saying that there's a huge set of the population, given Joe Rogan's vast popularity, he's extremely popular, that will try to argue that this is not, that's a blurry line and he's crossing lines and all this kind of stuff, because they have this sort of like indoctrinated cult like situation based on some sort of parasocial like relationship with Joe Rogan, and they think he's like a cool dude.
You can be far on either end of a blurred line.
Not a blurred line. I think that most of the time we're having the conversations where it's not a blurred line. I think Joe Rogan is not a blurred line. I think most people would say that most people that will say that he is know that he's not, and they're trying to justify it based on something else. I think the same thing about Schultz. I think most people know that Schultz is not a blurred line. Schultz is not a blurred line, in my opinion, for example. And the people that think that he is a blurred line, there are very clear reasons why they would convince themselves that he's a blurred line.
Yeah. I can't strongly disagree with that bit, but I think that's like further to one extreme than the conversation that we're currently having, both of which are interesting. Here, though, I think it's not clear, which is why there's this discussion.
Comedy, dangerous as fuck.
Not legal, some would say.
Yeah,
that's laugh too hard. Well, that's 5 to 10. Give a little bit more context. When I say I got a 6 sense of humor, I don't mean like super fucked up shit that's like clearly fucking wrong. And then there's also like one thing too, because I think there's also a thing of like, so maybe like a little bit of pushback album, because that's just sounding real good, and I agree with you for the most part. But I do have like some pushback in terms of if you don't see the line, like you're not trying to see it. When I definitely just do think some people are just oblivious and unaware sometimes to like all these like deeper like nuances. Like you said, like could it be like a thing of like kind of like indoctrination, but it's not coming from a place of
maliciousness.
Yeah, maliciousness, or I see it, but I'm just gonna ignore it. But so sometimes like people just might be oblivious to things, and it's not malicious. So yeah, that's all.
Yeah, a lot to think about, because that shit is all fucking connected up, and y'all know where I'm conflicted and shit like this. God damn, everything all connected up. That's annoying.
That's annoying. Yeah. Oh god, the Venn diagram is Venn diagramming.
Yeah, god damn. All right, what else we want to talk about?
It's got to be something quick. Issa Rae says she will never work with Amanda Seales. Or is there something else that we can knock out in a?
You probably should.
Maybe let's do
mid-roll, and then we can cut that in at some point.
Oh, true. Yeah, you're right.
Totally
We just blasted through that. You're right.
Yeah, right. God damn.
I think Alvin has something to tell you about something that Josh has something to tell you about.
I don't know what happened there.
You supposed to lead me in?
I'm supposed to segue you into your segue?
No, nigga. You supposed to lead me into the thing, and then I'm like, ha, right on, Alvin.
I don't know. How this works anymore.
Hang on while I get connected to Wi-Fi.
Okay. Anyway, goddamn Google over here tripping. Anyway, all right. Okay. But people, if you've been tuning in for the past couple of weeks, you have probably already heard and are already aware that we are, planning, got some things in the works, for the next year with a live show, and we do have a questionnaire out, and we greatly appreciate it if you would fill out that questionnaire, provide your feedback, and we definitely want to hear from you, such as like, what type of things would you like to see out of a live show from us? Like, where do you think we should have this live show at? Like, where will we have like the most engagement and the most people actually show up to come see us live and all that good stuff. So, as I've said before, and as we have all said before, if you have not filled out the form yet, please, when you have some time, please go ahead and do so. Don't cost you nothing. We greatly appreciate you. And to everybody that already did fill out the form, and there's quite a handful of you, quite a number, even though we are such a small business, the number of responses that we have received have been damn near medium-sized business level. So we thank you so much for that. And let's I don't know if we continuing with the show or ending this bitch or wrapping it up or whatever.
Branson, Missouri. Make
Sorry,
it happen.
Oh yeah, you
gotta get to Branson.
Yeah, there's a couple niggas that was like, yo, nah, y'all, for real, y'all should come to Branson.
Old girl says, my boyfriend isn't romantic. I've mostly accepted that. And while I love romance, it's not a non-negotiable for me, especially since he's very thoughtful. Example, he rarely buys me flowers, but orders many things I need, like my supplements, before I realize I need them. And then somebody responded, I've been thinking a lot about the way we position romance. I believe a lot of y'all will miss out on supportive, thoughtful partners because of how we have materially positioned the concept of romance. We may need to trouble our definitions. People are so dense. Be for real. Getting a package of vitamins isn't romantic. Like, I understand what she's saying. I have no clue why y'all are acting like getting a box of vitamins is romantic. It's thoughtful, yes. Romantic, no. Yeah.
Gotta call cap a little bit. But I do. That is a very interesting sentiment, romantic versus thoughtful, because I have noticed myself being more thoughtful. However, my thoughtful gestures have been romantic. So it's not like you can't have one without the other.
Double barrel.
Mm-hmm.
What's romantic but not thoughtful? That's when you get your girl like a bunch of flowers she's allergic to. Yeah. Which I feel like also happens. Like, you want to make gestures, but it's not really, or like how Will and Jada were like, oh, he made this big birthday party for her and had like a video of her like passed away great grandmother and shit. It's like
not to do that.
Don't do that shit. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's romantic, but it's not necessarily thoughtful. It's a big gesture of love. And for me, I think romance in the bigger sense, like not just in the, are you in a romantic sexual relationship, but like just romances and romanticizing your life, is about kind of creating cinematic, poetic experiences. You know what I mean? And so it can be thoughtful, like, hey, this made me think of you, but it's usually not shit that's just practical. Like, hey, I know we needed toilet paper, or hey, I put the toilet seat down, or hey, I made sure to do my own damn dishes. Those things I wouldn't call romantic because they're not poetic, they're not cinematic, they don't rhyme in their gesture in any way. They're not beautiful. They're just thoughtful, being grown, being a good partner, Hey, so I do think they are. I think that she's right. They're separate.
Yeah. I don't think they're necessarily separate. Yeah, I think it's a situation. It's all squares are rectangles, not all rectangles are squares. I think for something to be romantic, yeah, I think in order to be romantic, I think a romantic gesture is by definition thoughtful. I don't think a thoughtful thing necessitates something being romantic. But I think a romantic gesture is automatically thoughtful.
So what do you think of the thing because I started with the case of that being a contradiction? What do you think of that? Because that was the first bit the point that I made.
I don't see that as a contradictory point to yours.
Oh, so like the first example of the interaction between these two that I gave was situations where a romantic gesture isn't thoughtful. The Will Smith and Jada thing, or the flowers that your girl's allergic to. So yeah, how would you reconcile that? If
I don't. So my ultimate thing is that in order for something to be romantic, it has to be something that your partner actually wants. So if your partner doesn't want it, then it's not romantic. Like I think we think of things. So for example, like the big thing that came out after this, at least in the Twitter sphere, was, oh, just buy your girl flowers, or whether or not flowers are romantic, or all this kind of thing. So like, I know women that don't like flowers. So flowers to them is not romantic, regardless of what the Hollywood image of flowers is. They would hate flowers. So for them, it's not romantic. So I don't think that something is romantic if you don't want it. But I think that if something that you want and like your partner considers romantic, I think it's automatically thoughtful.
I would have different definitions of those words, but
which I think is fair. It's not.
If it's just a semantic difference, then I can't disagree with that. Obviously.
Yeah. I mean, you can have one without. You can have one and the other, and you can also have one without the other. Like, we ultimately be saying the same thing, but I would like to flesh out.
Who, me and you?
Huh?
Yeah.
More so me
Me
and a
and
little bit
you?
more so me and Alvin, because like I believe, like, because again, like I kicked the
Oh, that's the
conversation
opposite of
off.
what he's saying.
Oh, well, never mind. I wasn't listening hard enough. Yeah, I guess Eddie. But then again, I feel like I disagree with you too. So I will just repeat myself.
Maybe, yeah.
Because when Alvin
Yeah.
said all squares are all triangles are, what the fuck you say? All squares are rectangles, but all goddamn some shit. I'm like, oh, that's a good one. I was just looking like
A
shit.
circle, you got to square that circle,
I know,
baby.
right?
He started doing the math.
I know, right? Well, I had all sorts of shapes going through my head. Like, nah, that ain't the one.
Here's a pentagram, I think. They're doing demonic shit. I don't know.
That's a rat got there. Well, you know, so basically, like, you can do something that is very thoughtful, that is romantic, especially because, like, we also have to think about the person that's receiving said thought or said romance from the person, because it's ultimately how they perceive it. Like, I have, I got a like an ex-girlfriend, like a body pillow, like completely surprised. I just like, hey, you got something at your door. Oh my God, what you get me? Oh, something that she said, hey, so don't worry about it, but it's something that you wanted, or like, you know, and it didn't cost much, like, but it was just the fact that I took the time, I thought about it, I was listening to her, which women will tell you that can be romantic, or that's like, you know, having that thoughtfulness to you. And that was like, we had a very romantic time after that, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
So Josh, me and you are virtually saying the same thing, by the way. Just want to point that out there.
Okay.
See, okay, let me not get back into
no, because what I'm saying is that I said romance by definition is something that's thoughtful, in my opinion. I said that something that is thoughtful can be romantic, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, which is, again, that's the analogy that I drew. All squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. But that does mean that some rectangles are squares. So it works bi-directionally.
Yeah, I'm not going to get bogged down into where I think y'all aren't saying the same thing, because that part is yes. But I do think that an interesting thing is, like, I think that this example that she gives of like the pills thing is like, it's not just that it's thoughtful. It's like it's practical. It's this like second shift labor almost kind of thing.
It's like buying a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, exactly. It's boring. It's practical, but it really makes the fabric of a relationship totally fucking different. And so I think the thing that's more interesting here for this conversation is poetic gestures versus like consistent practical labor in a relationship. I think that's just to skip past the semantic squares and circles and the math that we're doing. I think that's the thing that this is about. And the point that the woman responding to her makes is like, some of us women, meaning women, are maybe missing out on relationships that are evenly yoked and practically spread out and pragmatic in the way that care and labor is given from our partner, in exchange for relationships that are more about the spectacle or the poetry. And I don't know if that's true, because I don't think it's a lot of men that are doing the first one anyway.
No, I think it's you're definitely on the sub,
and not the second one, maybe.
Yeah, you're definitely on the sub, because I think that is part of like what's missing is like more romance and like effort put into that, into like more romance and like some like, it ain't even gotta be like a grand show or like a grand gesture, but you know,
buy the flowers, man.
Buy the flowers, or like, goddamn, get the picnic blanket, Alvin. I know you don't fuck with picnics. You know what I'm saying?
She like flowers. No, I think that you should. I think that a big thing for me is that you should do things that your partner actually wants to do.
I don't want picnics, but he'll do
I don't want picnics. If my girl wants a picnic, at some point we're gonna fucking do a picnic. At some point, like, that's fine. If my girl likes flowers, at some point I'm gonna get her flowers. Like, I think that a big part of the relationship is meeting your partner where they are to some extent, and I would argue in most cases to a lot of extent. That's a big part of what it is.
And by the way, buy the flowers or do the picnic is simply an analogy. We are not saying that is a one-size-fits-all solution for romance.
Yes. You know what, though? I'm gonna need to see more romance coming the other direction, though, too. I think that's something that's being left out of this conversation.
I feel that, goddammit.
Because that's not coming up nowhere in this. Like, cool, second shift labor. Because the pill thing, That's second shift labor. That's like a practical partner who is looking to help you peel your orange. And I agree, maybe there's some romance in that there, sort of. But the gestures of like, hey, I picked you this flower. I thought of this little pretty thing for you. Cool. Like, that's good too. I think maybe less important, but I want to see some of that coming towards guys. So that's my stance.
You're going to get your ass canceled again, goddamn. The fuck you mean do shit for niggas? Bitch, how about
give me
do
flowers
for us first? But yeah, nah. I mean, like that definitely it. Okay, so I was talking to somebody recently, and they was like, "Men want to be like the bad bitches now." Like, you know, not specifically saying something, yeah, but you know, it was like more so like, it's like niggas want to be us. I'm like, well, shit. Like what you describing is really. Is like somebody want to be loved and seen. Like, yeah, I do. Like, you know,
yes, actually,
y'all want us
yes,
to
please.
That was a bar, Josh. That was kind of a bar.
How dare you have emotional needs? What are you, a fucking
like,
woman?
Y'all want us to be like y'all just so many contradictions are placed on men. And look, again, baby, we goddamn bash niggas all the time, but shit, when it's time to ride that Don for the right thing. It's time to ride, man.
Got to do it.
Yeah.
Damn, Josh. I think it's a good one to close on Josh's big bar there, man, because that was you kind of killing it there. So,
chef's kiss. That was romantic to me.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, if you find yourself laughing at jokes that may not take into consideration how these things are perceived by the victim, or how they may make the victims look in terms of the zeitgeist, you may be waving a red flag. But if you're in a relationship and your partner's not buying you the flowers, you may be seeing a red flag. This has been Waving the Red Flag podcast. It has been Edward Overgoal. It has been Josh, the last real nigga in Hollywood. It has been Alvin. Please make sure that you like, subscribe. We are available wherever podcasts are sold. Make sure that you take the survey. Josh had a wonderful mid-roll kind of explaining that one. Make sure that you go on there. Let us know what you think. Help us grow. Help us become an even bigger small business. Make sure that you are participating in the community in all aspects of what that means. Please continue to comment. Please continue to participate in the Discord. Please continue to join the lives. All of that helps. Eddie, did I miss anything? Josh, did I miss anything?
That's beautiful. Everything, baby. That's everything.
Big shout out to Branson, Missouri.
Thoughtful.
You know, it's my home away from home. You know, I be out there.
We're coming.
Them eaters.
I really don't be out there. Don't nobody come looking for me at Branson.
Branson, Missouri. That's their main export. Alvin Eaters.
I don't know, because I really was not familiar with Branson, Missouri like that. So if it really is like some weird Las Vegas shit, like apparently there's some weird shit going on out there. So hey,
it
might be a time. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really know anything about what they sell at their Costco's in Branson. I don't know what the fuck is going on. I never even heard of it.
You missing out.
Okay. All right. I think I'm okay. All right.
Roll the credits.
Close it out. Roll them credits.
It's a red flag.